Hello and welcome to the Cornea Impression. My name is Bhuvan and today with me I have the Citroen C3. Now the Citroen C3 is kind of like that girlfriend who you just broke up with. The reason being that there are some features and some decisions made while developing this car which make you question a lot of things. At the same time, there are other features which you know that when you don't have it, it's going to be something you're going to miss a lot. So today I'm going to go over those features and the overall package that this car is and let you know more about it. First things first though, we need to talk about how this car looks, because from the outside this car looks very chic and very striking. I have noticed in the last couple of days that I've been driving this car that a lot of people turn their heads and see what you are driving and what this car overall is. Citroen is a relatively new brand in India and they are not used to seeing a lot of these on the road. Even if they do, they are going to be still very impressed with the overall styling of the car, the overall stance of the car, and how the color plays there on the outside as well as on the inside. From the outside, visually, this car has a very striking stance, and at the same time, you know it's built for a purpose because that ground clearance is easily enough to take you most of the places. For a person who's looking at the C3 for the first time, this car is going to come out as a playful car. That said though, sometimes that illusion could be broken if you look down and notice that you actually don't get alloy wheels despite this being the top end variant. Now despite its striking exterior, the interior is actually even more striking and a little shocking at some places. So let me go inside quickly and show you around. Now that funky play of colors continues all the way onto the inside of the C3 as well, where you've got a multicolor dashboard. This of course is optional. You can have it completely grayed out as well if you want. You are surrounded by a lot of hard plastic over here on the inside, which not necessarily means low quality. The quality of the plastic, the fit and finish actually feels quite nice. There are some really nice touches as well, like for example, you have notches over here in the center console where you can wrap around your cable. There's also a significant amount of storage space over here in the center where you have a shelf, which is handy for keeping things like a wallet, but it's not really handy if you're keeping your mobile phone, because as soon as you accelerate, that thing is just going to fly out and go into the cup holders. There are two very decent size cup holders over here which can hold your drinks well, and also another small cubby hole below it which can store more stuff. But before all that, there is this massive touchscreen in the center which connects you to your Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and the software on it is quite fast and swift. Till now, I have not noticed any stutters, any visual stutters or any lag in it. It works pretty good. Overall, this interior feels very well put together, very well thought of in terms of its overall design. But the only sort of letdown over here on the inside is that instrumentation cluster. It is very small. It's a literally, it's like a 3-4 decade old LCD screen in the center, non-colored, just monochrome. It's really small, it doesn't have a ref counter, and it's got a lot of empty and blank spaces around it. But here's where a lot of those shocking decisions come to your mind when you sit inside the C3. For example, the air conditioning in this car, despite being top end, is not auto. The wing mirrors are manually adjustable for the top end model of this car. The steering itself feels kind of simple, where you just have 4 buttons on the right side. The entire left side section is completely left blanked out. Thankfully, there are power windows for all 4 passengers, and all the 4 power windows are 1 pinch down, but none of them are 1 pinch up. You also won't find a specific button for central locking that is integrated into the door handle. Missing out so many features kind of feels like a questionable decision when this car was being designed and developed, until you realize that most of that money has gone into how this car feels when you are driving it. More on that soon, but for now, let's hop into the back seat. Over here at the back, the door opening is pretty nice and wide, which means getting in and out of the car is significantly easy. There's a quite decent amount of legroom over here as well. I am 5'8" and the seat in front is set up as per my height, and as you can see, there is tons of legroom and there is tons of headroom as well. Sitting back here gives you a nice, comfortable, upright posture, while at the same time, this bench seat gives you nice under thigh support. In terms of features, there's not much at the back. You do have 2 USB ports over here. You have a central cup holder, but you don't have any air conditioning vents over here at the back. But overall, the seats do feel nice and comfortable. That said though, now it's time to talk about the qualities that this car has gained by omitting the features on the inside. And for that, we need to take this car out on a drive. The first thing that you realize when you start the car is that 1.2 liter naturally aspirated engine is a little noisy. It's not a deal breaker, but you kind of realize that it's there and it's working. The second thing you realize when you take off is that the clutch is overly light, but at the same time it's very difficult to understand or to judge where the exact bite is, because every time that I have released the clutch, started off with this car, there has been moments of relative judder where I'm not really sure where exactly I should leave the clutch and where exactly should I go on the accelerator. That said, the clutch operation is very smooth and the steering is exceptionally light, which makes it really easy to maneuver around traffic and getting in and out of tricky situations. The best part about this car is its comfort, because the suspensions, whatever tune they have done, they are regular McPherson setup, but at the same time the kind of tune that has been given to it makes sure that this thing absorbs all bumps, all potholes without a problem. In fact, just because of that, you find yourself doing slightly higher than average speeds compared to everyone around you, and everyone kind of looks you in a little bit of anger and a little bit of disgust because their car is not able to carry those kind of speeds on our broken, pothole filled roads, while your car, the C3, just sails along. It just blows past everyone while still being in speed limits. The steering is incredibly light. It's very comfortable to maneuver around city. It's decently precise as well. You don't expect razor sharp handling or razor sharp precision from the steering. The engine, first of all, it doesn't feel like a 80 something horsepower engine at all. The one I am driving right now is the naturally aspirated variant. There's a turbo variant as well, which comes with about 110 horsepower and around 190 newton meters of torque. This engine though is an 83 horsepower engine, but by no means does it feel like it. The reason behind it is that the gearing is pretty awesome. It's pretty precise, where first and second gear quickly gets you off the line, and third gear on this car is actually the most brilliant. It is one of those cars where the third gear can take you all across city, across each and every and all kinds of speeds. And that is kind of the thing you want in a city car, right? You don't want your city car where you are constantly going up and down the gears, going on the clutch every 2 seconds whenever there's something on the road, whenever you slow down. Driving in a similarly spec'd car from the same segment, whenever you're approaching a pothole where you realize you've got slightly more speed than you should have, kind of makes you clench, because you realize, oops, this is going to create a big rattle and it's going to just disturb the entire cabin on the inside. In this, nothing like that. You see the pothole, you're going at some speeds which you know is going to create a lot of judder and a lot of rattle inside the car. You go over the pothole and you suddenly realize that something which you had expected, that jarriness, is just not there. You can actually drive this car quite fast. You can drive this car quite quickly around town. You can get in and out of traffic, and you can be a little bit of a brat when you're driving this car around. In a good way, of course. Be responsible, but at the same time, it does give you that bratty feel where it just wants you to go quickly through town. It wants you to quickly go through traffic, and it just wants you to get to wherever your destination is, whatever you're doing or wherever you're going, in the most fun, in the most sort of exciting kind of a way. And to add to that, while the interior of this car might feel quite simplistic, the plastics and everything might feel quite basic, they are very well put together. You don't hear squeaks, you don't hear rattles when you're going over bad stuff, because first of all, the suspensions don't let anything in. Even if they do, the body holds pretty well. So in essence, this is a French car that wants you to drive like an Italian. But this right here is the absolute mad part about the Citroen C3, is the way how it can manage these bad, like actually bad roads, which are really, you really can't call them as roads as well. This is where this car absolutely flies. The suspensions are insane over here. There is no car in its category, and possibly even above, that can match the way this car can go over bad roads and bad surfaces. So overall, what I have to say about the Citroen C3 is that they have made some questionable decisions according to the Indian market. The reason I say that is because I drove the Citroen C1 a few years ago, and it exhibited quite similar features as this car. In terms of its overall interior, it was quite similar, where a lot of features were pretty basic. but at the same time, the engine was mighty impressive. The handling was also pretty impressive. And the best part still in that car as well were the suspensions. So what I would say is the Indian audience is kind of complicated to tackle with such situations, because the European audience might be a lot more mature and is a lot more mature. The Indian audience still gets most of its perception from reading things either in a brochure or reading things online. And with that approach, the problem is that most of the people get stuck and get focused on features and what the car provides when they're sitting over here on the inside. But that said though, the strength of this car, the strength of the C3 might not be in the ton of features that it might offer. It offers you basic amenities which are necessary and which are a must in a car, still lacking a few, like for example the power wing mirrors. I think that's a huge omission that should have been there. But apart from that, it does serve the purpose. It's got a great entertainment system. It's got great speakers, by the way. Some of the best sound system I've heard in a car of this segment and this class. Despite all that, the common person usually gets stuck to the brochure, as I said, and they get stuck to the list of features which are there on this car. And that is not the purpose of this car. That is not the function of this car. This car is actually meant to be driven, because when you drive this car, you instantly realize where all the money is. It's there to give you comfort. It's there to give you the most supreme comfort of a car, not just in its category, but even I would say a category above it as well. So for someone who's actually thinking about a C3, I would highly request and recommend that you go drive this car once. Because once you drive this car, your perspective of each and every car in this segment will change. And if you're basing your decision purely on how a car feels to drive when you're driving it on the road, it will kind of become your benchmark for every other car you choose and judge. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to catch you in the next one. Till then, goodbye.